In this video, we'll look at the 7Artisans EF to EOS M AF adapter for Canon mirrorless cameras. So this type of adapter allows you to use EF or EF-S lenses on Canon EOS M cameras. This is the Canon version of the adapter. In this video, I'll compare the Canon version to the cheaper 7Artisans version. This adapter supports aperture function, autofocus, and also image stabilization. Quick disclaimer, 7Artisans sent me this adapter for free for review, but they're not paying me to make this review or say anything particular about it. So all the opinions are my own. I'll try not to be biased, but this is the first product I received for free for review on my YouTube channel. So I might be a little bit nicer than if I bought this with my own money. I don't necessarily need this adapter since I already have two of the Canon adapters for my own work. But I wanted to make this review for other people who are looking for a cheaper adapter. The adapter comes in a pretty good box. It comes with this little sleeve, which I managed to rip when I was getting out of the box. Has very simple information, has just a graphic of adapter. Here are some QR codes on the back. It's from 7Artisans. Here are the specs, but there's really not much to talk about here. The box is a pretty good quality considering this adapter only costs $40. So when you open the box, there is a Allen key to take off the tripod foot. Then there is a manual, a little bit of foam, and here's the adapter in a plastic bag. So let's take it out. And that's it for the box. The foam cutout is quite nice, so the adapter fits there nicely and very snug. Quite good for a really cheap adapter. The back cap has 7Artisans branding on it. The front one is just generic. This adapter doesn't have any optical elements. You can put your finger through it. It just connects the EF lenses to the EOS M cameras. It has a metal mount on both sides, so this is the side that faces the lens. This is the side that faces the body. Has fully electronic contacts, so these are the contacts on the side of the lens. These are the contacts on the side of the body. So it supports all the functions, so aperture, autofocus, image stabilization, and so on. The inside of the adapter is plastic. The outside of the adapter is metal. So here, there's a 7Artisans logo and EF to EOS M. On the bottom, we have a tripod foot. So here there are two Allen screws, and here is where the tripod attaches. So to take it off, you need to have the Allen key. I don't particularly like the design of the tripod foot. It's kind of pointy and it's not super comfortable when you get your fingers on it. For the EOS M cameras, the lens adapter is usually pretty small, so I generally take the tripod foots off and I never really use them otherwise. So let me show you how I use this. So here I have a EOS M50 camera. Then I take this 7Artisans adapter, attach it to the camera, so white dot on white dot. And now essentially it turns the EOS M50 camera into a camera with the EF mount. And now I can mount any of the EF or EF-S lenses. So the camera I use a lot on my EOS M mirrorless cameras is this EF-S 55 to 250 millimeter. It's a fantastic lens. It's quite cheap. It's all plasticky, but the optics are surprisingly good. And this gives you effective focal range of like 90 to 400 millimeters in full frame equivalent, and also has an image stabilizer. So now to attach the lens, we line up the white dots, and now that's it. So let's see if it works. Here at the window, it focuses just fine. Aperture, everything works just fine. I tested this adapter with the EOS M6 Mark II, which is the most advanced, latest EOS M camera, and everything seemed to work just fine. The eye autofocus worked, the image stabilization worked, so everything seems to work just as good as on the Canon adapter. To be honest, I didn't really expect any surprises. There are a lot of different manufacturers who make these AF adapters, and from the reviews I've seen online, they all seem to work just fine. You can definitely get a lemon and it might not work, but in general, I would expect these third-party adapters from China to work just fine. It's mostly about the price, the potential of future compatibility, and the build quality. The 7Artisans adapter is one of the cheapest on the market. Right now I can see it on eBay for $39. There is also the Viltrox, which costs $37. On B&H there's a Photo Diox for $50, Velo for $60. And then there's the Viltrox Speedbooster for $156, which has glass elements. And the most expensive is the Canon official version, which costs ridiculous $189 at B&H. That is an absolute ripoff. I actually have two of these adapters. And first one I bought for $33 on Amazon. It was like a white box special. It was in 2015. And the second one I bought when I bought my M50, and I paid only $50 for it. There's absolutely no reason why the official Canon adapter should cost more than $100. And the reason why I say that is because the adapter for the R cameras from EF to the new Canon R cameras is only $100. It's essentially the same thing, it's just this one is slightly different size, but there's no reason why this thing should cost $200. It's an absolute ripoff, and I don't know why Canon is charging so much. So let's compare these two adapters. So we have the Canon and then we have the 7Artisans. I'll take off the lens caps. So here we have the Canon and here we have the 7Artisans. You can see logos of each company on each side. The metal they are made out of is a little bit different. The metal on the 7Artisans is a little bit more shiny. The baffling on the Canon adapter seems to be a little bit more pronounced. The Viltrox one is like a completely circular opening. This one is more oval shaped. I don't think this is a huge difference. From the front, you can see they each have electronic contacts. Again, this material is more shiny than on the Canon version. The Canon version seems to have better control of internal light reflections. It has like this ribbing on the inside. So the Canon on the inside is plastic, but it's like this ribbing, which should eliminate internal reflections. On the 7Artisans, it's just a straight tube. So the Canon design is definitely a little bit better. In general, I would say the Canon is a little bit heavier, but let's weigh them real quick. Here we have the Canon with the tripod foot. It's 155 grams. And here we have the 7Artisans. It's only 100 grams. So the 7Artisans is significantly lighter. At the first glance, the Canon adapter is definitely built at a higher quality. If these people didn't have the brands listed on them, I think most people would pick the Canon one. It's just the build quality is higher than the 7Artisans. Pretty significant difference is how the tripod foot attaches. So on the Canon one, has this like a ribbed wheel, and you don't need any tools to take it up. So you can just twist it like that, and it comes up beautifully. So that's a really nice design. On the 7Artisans, you need the Allen key. So to me, it's not a huge deal because I never really keep this on or take it on and off frequently, but the Canon design is definitely better. So let's take these off. Let's see how hard it is. It's not bad. Okay. And now it's kind of annoying. So the screws are loose, so you can definitely lose them. Okay. And then there is a little bit of oil. Well, that's not great. Let's weigh them again without the tripod feet. Here's the Canon adapter without the tripod foot. It's 107 grams, and 7Artisans is 85 grams. So the tripod foot on the 7Artisans is a lot lighter than on the Canon. Another important thing to say about the build quality is the quality of this lens release. So on the Canon one, it's really nice quality. It like moves super nicely and smooth, and it doesn't like get stuck at all. And this like tab is like very solid and good quality. On the 7Artisans, this tab is definitely a lot cheaper, and it just doesn't move as smoothly, and it's like sticks. See, it's like so maybe it just needs to work, but it's definitely not as good. I observed the same problem the Viltrox Speedbooster, which is right here. So this is a different type of adapter. This is the Viltrox. It also adapts EF lenses to EOS M cameras, but it has a lens element inside. So it also changes the focal length of the lenses. It multiplies it by 0.71, so it kind of gives you a full frame look. So if you're interested in me doing some testing with this adapter, let me know. So here, this lens release button, it actually moves pretty nicely, but it's kind of wobbly. See, it's kind of wobbly. On the Canon one, the official one, this doesn't wobble at all. Another important thing to talk about is the future compatibility. This is not as big of a deal for the Canon EOS M system because most likely the EOS M system is dead. I have a video about this. There are probably not gonna be a lot of new cameras that would make these adapters incompatible, but it's something to think about. So the Canon adapter does not have any USB ports to adapt firmware because they guarantee it. I mean, it's Canon adapter, so it's always gonna work with all Canon cameras and Canon lenses. The Viltrox Speedbooster does have a USB port right here, so you can update the firmware if needed. And what's interesting is that the Viltrox, which is also a third-party adapter, does not have a USB port. There's this space for the USB port, I think for maybe other adapters, but this adapter does not have a USB port for updating firmware. I think the EOS M system is dead. I think it's we're not gonna see any cameras, and if we see something, it's just gonna be rebadging of some old cameras. And this is supposed to work with the EF and EF-s lenses, and those lenses are also done. What's on the market right now is that's what's gonna be there. I won't expect any new EF lenses releases. Everything is gonna be focused on the RF mount. So the big question is, should you buy the cheap 7Artisans adapter, or should you pay 4 to 5 times more for the Canon adapter? Or should you buy the Viltrox Speedbooster? So I think if you're trying to build a really cheap camera kit, you can buy some used Canon EOS M bodies, like the original EOS M or a cheap M50, and you just want some cheap solution. This is not a bad idea. I mean, it's only $40. I'm not sure how it compares with the other third-party adapters like the Velo or the Viltrox. You can check out other people's videos to see if that one is any better. This adapter does seem to work just fine, but it's not as good as the Canon adapter. The Canon adapter is built to a higher standard. So for people who are on an extreme budget, I would recommend the 7Artisans for a cheap system. If you have more expensive cameras, I would probably still recommend the Canon adapter. Probably look for a used one from somebody. To pay $200 for this is absolutely ridiculous, and I think it's just some weird type of pricing going on. Here in Switzerland, it costs about $100, which I think is a lot fairer price. I would say if you have a lot of expensive lenses, like for example, here is a Canon L version 16 to 35. I would prefer to probably have the official adapter to use with these lenses. It's probably worth paying a little bit extra for the official Canon adapter. It is higher quality and it is guaranteed to work in the future. I had one of these adapters for 7 years now and it works just fine. I don't use these adapters too much. I mostly use EF-M dedicated lenses, but when I use it, sometimes they work flawlessly every time. The big question is, if you're willing to spend $200 on a Canon adapter, why not just buy the Viltrox Speedbooster? So the Speedbooster seems to work pretty well. I kind of got it just to play around with it. I haven't really used it that much, but it does seem to work. In my limited testing, it does what it's supposed to do. It attaches nicely to EF lenses. It does multiply the focal length, so it gives you kind of the full frame look. But I don't use it too much because I have full frame cameras, so if I want a full frame look, I use my EOS R camera. One thing that you really want to watch out with the Viltrox Speedbooster is that this only works with a full frame EF lenses, which makes sense because those are the only ones who have sufficient coverage to do the multiplication. So this adapter will not work with any EF-S lenses like this really good telephoto, or a lot of the other really nice budget lenses like the here is a 60mm macro, or I also have the 35mm EF-S macro. So the Viltrox Speedbooster does kind of give you a little bit of the full frame look if you have EOS M cameras, but if you don't have EOS M cameras and you want the full frame look, I would not advise to go this route. Just buy a full frame camera. The full frame camera is again a lot cheaper. The Canon RP can probably be had anywhere between $800 to $1,000. So I would just go with a full frame camera. This costs $150 to $200. So, and it's never gonna be as good as just having a full frame camera in the first place. So in summary, the 7Artisans adapter works just fine. AF works, image stabilization works. It's a lot cheaper than the Canon, but it is not as nice as the Canon. Whether the price difference is worth it to you, it's up to you to decide. Here's the Canon M50 with the 7Artisans adapter and the 16 to 35 version 2L lens. Here's the Canon M50 with the 7Artisans adapter with the Canon 18 to 135 Nano USM lens. This is a fantastic walk around lens for like vacations. This combo is a little too front heavy. For my taste, I generally like to use this lens on my Canon 80D. Here's the Canon M50 with the 7Artisans adapter with the standard 18 to 55 kit lens that comes with all the DSLRs. It's not a bad combo, but it's obviously a lot bigger than if you use the dedicated EF-M lens for the Canon mirrorless cameras. So I tested the 7Artisans AF adapter with probably 6 to 7 different Canon lenses. If it starts malfunctioning in the future, I'll put it in the description, also in the pinned comment. I'm Matej and I make videos about photography, mostly focusing on Canon cameras, the EOS M system, Canon R system, iPhone photography, and Instax photography. If you're interested in any of these topics, please consider subscribing.